Welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 250,000 subscribers. Now, look, there's so much to talk about. It's why I say, if you like what you hear, be part of the community, subscribe, watch, and share with your friends. And I want to talk right now about RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s lawyer, who was tasked by him to petition the government to revoke its approval. Yeah, get a load of this crap. Of the polio vaccine. And it's important that we have to talk about it. First of all, let me say this. The polio virus is basically extinct from this country because of the vaccination. So I want to begin by showing you, and you cannot imagine how important that this topic really is, because it goes to a broader and a larger issue, which are the nominees that are currently being tasked to do and to represent the government in specific capacities. So I want to show you an article explaining the situation, and then I'm going to show you a few clips. So here, Kennedy's lawyer has asked the FDA to revoke approval of the polio vaccine. And his name is Aaron Siri, who specializes in vaccine lawsuits. He's been at Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s side reviewing candidates for top jobs at the Department of Health and Human Services. Continue. The lawyer helping Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pick federal health officials for the incoming Trump administration has petitioned the government to revoke its approval of the polio vaccine, which for decades has protected millions of people from a virus that can cause paralysis or death. That campaign is just one front in the war that the lawyer, Aaron Siri, is waging against vaccines of all kinds. Now, I want to say this. It's not just a one-time vaccine. Failure to complete the vaccination routine will allow the virus to replicate and to regain virulence. All right? The only thing that you can do to prevent, as we have done now for decades, to prevent polio, is to go through the routine and to stay vigilant. You cannot afford to relax our guard on things like this: measles, mumps, rubella, polio, etc. And the fact that they're even talking about it should scare the living shit out of you. Put up the next part. Mr. Siri has also filed a petition seeking to pause the distribution of 13 other vaccines. You hear? 13 challenged and in some cases quashed COVID vaccine mandates around the country. He sued federal agencies for the disclosure of records related to vaccine approvals and subjected prominent vaccine scientists to grueling videotape depositions. Much of Mr. Siri's work, including the polio petition that was filed in 2022, has been on behalf of the Informed Consent Action Network, a nonprofit whose founder is a close ally of Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Siri also represented Mr. Kennedy during his presidential campaign. Go on, continue. Mr. Kennedy has privately expressed interest in having Mr. Siri serve in the Health and Human Services Department's top legal job as general counsel. I mean, you see where I'm going with this stuff? However, Mr. Siri has suggested that he may have more influence outside the administration. And at his law firm, Siri in Glimstad, he oversees about 40 professionals working on vaccine cases and policy. Somebody on the outside needs to be petitioning them, he said on a podcast in late November. During an appearance last week on NBC's Meet the Press, Mr. Trump said that he was open to a review of vaccines and autism, but he singled out the polio vaccine as a potential exception. And here's what Trump said. The polio vaccine is the greatest thing, Mr. Trump said. If someone told me get rid of the polio vaccine, they're going to have to work really hard to convince me. Finally, he's saying something which is 100. Do you realize that the last well-known person who ended up with polio, and it was adult polio, was FDR? You know, you ask people older, your grandparents and so on, they'll tell you how many people that they knew who actually had braces and so on as a result of the polio virus. Now, I want to show you what Senator Elizabeth Warren posted on her X this morning. Play that clip.
Say goodbye to your smile and say hello to polio. I would laugh if it weren't so scary. Donald Trump just picked RFK Jr. to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. This is a man who wants to stop kids from getting their polio and measles shots. He's actually welcoming a return to polio, a disease we nearly eradicated. But it doesn't stop there. RFK Jr. also doesn't believe fluoride should be in your water, and that's what keeps your teeth from rotting. You can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't. You can't. At some point in time, this ideology that he has, which has been disproven over and over and over again, over and over and over again, he just keeps coming back to the same nonsense. And I want to show you another clip, right? That on November 1st, the Lincoln Project released this ad of RFK's potential actions if he was given power. Now, I want to be clear about something. If, in fact, he gets through confirmation, which he should not, I am hopeful and I am optimistic that he will not, because he is so antithetical to this position. If he does, though, regain power, imagine all of the danger that our children, grandchildren, and future generations to come will have to deal with as a direct result of his absolute refusal to accept science. Play the clip.
John Kennedy was a profile in courage. Robert Kennedy spoke to our better angels, tragic leaders who were the best of America.
Ask what you can do for your country.
Robert Kennedy Jr. is a different kind of tragedy. A longtime heroin addict, Kennedy is an anti-vaxxer extremist who thinks all vaccines are dangerous.
There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
No vaccines? Bring back polio, measles, whooping cough.
COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted.
Ethnically targeted? That's racist and crazy. If you believe COVID was a conspiracy, if you're an anti-vaxxer, RFK Jr. is your guy.
There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
RFK Jr., a right-wing nut.
If, again, you're not petrified of the level of incompetence of some of the nominees, I don't know why Trump is doing it, to be honest with you. I know that the transition team right now, they're like clawing at each other. There's like knife fights, and I don't mean proverbial knife. I'm talking about rhetorical. I mean, this is absolutely nonsensical. And I understand that Robert Kennedy was there and he was assistive to Trump during the campaign. But seriously, are you really going to put somebody who doesn't believe in measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough, doesn't believe in the polio vaccination? When was the last time you saw or heard of somebody in America that ended up having polio? And the answer is you haven't. I haven't. Why? Because the vaccination works. Completely contradicting what RFK believes and what he says. He's been on my Mea Culpa podcast. And if you have a moment, it's an hour, I would certainly refer you to that podcast because it's batshit crazy. You can't believe that somebody is actually saying these things. And so, my friends, it is so important to stay vigilant, to stay in the know every single day, because so much is coming at us on a daily basis. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.